Halter breaking Longhorns, day 22. Today we're doing some things a little bit different. Here's Hazel. Hazel's walking by herself today. It is really important to change things up. So Hazel and Sarah have been together since they were born. We bought them from the same farm. They were in the same pasture, and now they're in the same pen. And they share a birthday month, so they'll be in the ring at the same time. However, in showmanship and also if either one of them wins their class, they will not be in the ring at the same time. So it's important to practice with your animals in different scenarios. So today Hazel's practicing by herself, because there are times that she's going to be in the ring and she's not going to know anybody but her showman. So let's look at Hazel for a little bit. I think right now her back legs are split a little too much, but there's really not much Ariel's going to be able to do about that. If she pushes the far foot back, she'll be too spread out. But if she pulls the closer leg up, then her feet will be too close together. So in this instance, Ariel, what should you do?
Usually just take them in a circle or have them take them another step up and position the exact same way.
Yeah, reposition. So step up or step back. Or walk them in a circle and get them repositioned. So she's going to step up twice. She's done that. And then we're going to fix the front foot and see if that doesn't make her look a little better. Not terrible. I still feel like that far back leg is forward a little too much. Why don't you poke her back, that back leg that's in front? See if you can get her to pick it up and put it back down in a more comfortable position. Hazel doesn't have weak pasterns, but in this instance, that pastern looks really weak just because of the position of her foot. That's not too bad. All right. Good job. How does she respond to step back? Not? Okay, so how do you teach them to step back?
Well, start with very simple commands, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I usually just switch hands here and put my thumb on their shoulder. Step back.
Yeah, putting your thumb on their shoulder. Show that spot again, Ariel. Where you put your...
Like right here.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody can see that. And then apply pressure, and they don't like that, and so they'll step back. And using the voice commands as they step back helps. So let's see if you can get her to back up again. There we go. And it wasn't graceful by any means, but the goal is to back up whenever they hear the sound back up. And you've seen our video. If you haven't, here it is right up here. The video on teaching our cows how to back up when they're getting food. Okay, so we stopped the video just a minute ago and we were going to move to Hazel or Sarah, but Ariel turned Hazel around and repositioned her, and she looks fantastic now. If you can see, that far back foot is forward, but it's not so far forward that her pastern, which is the spot between her dew claw and her hoof. That dew claw is that extra little hoof part in the back. So that between that is her pastern. And when her foot's too far forward, her pastern looks very weak and flattens out. And that is not ideal. They may not have weak pasterns, but if you're setting them up in a certain way that their pasterns look weak, that is not the best side of the animal. And that's not going to get you a good placing in the ring if the judge can't see the best of your animal. So she looks much better here. Okay, now it's Sarah's turn. So what we're doing here is putting her in a different situation, just like with Hazel. Sarah's walking with Trucker, or behind Trucker. So here's Trucker in the front. And now Sarah's having to follow someone different. It's not Hazel anymore. And she's out here practicing, and she's not with her best friend who she grew up with. So she's really having to rely on her handler or her showman. I mean, and not to mention she's got this big old behemoth of a dude right in front of her. So she looks really good. Oftentimes, an animal won't want to walk, and that's a problem, but it's definitely the lesser of two evils. You don't want your animal to always run. So if you don't have an animal that doesn't like to walk, putting an animal that walks really well in front of them helps. They learn to follow, and if the animal in front of them is walking, then they will walk. Now, there are exceptions to the rule, but anytime we have an animal that doesn't want to walk, we put them in the back so they're following. You can also put an animal behind them, so the showman who has that animal behind them will push them. And that is something in the ring, if you do, that actually shows really good showmanship and sportsmanship, for that matter, to help out the showman in front of you and help their animal walk if the animal doesn't want to walk. So Sarah looks really good right now. Her head's all over the place, mainly because we have some distractions. We have dogs running around out here. I would always suggest, if your dogs are well behaved and they don't go after your cows, to let the dogs run and play and be around the animals while you're practicing. Distractions are huge. There's so many distractions at the show, and if they can handle the distraction of two dogs running around or barking, that's definitely beneficial. Okay, so let's let's take a step up. They're using their voice commands. Okay, so her back feet are in position, and she's going to use the stick to pull up her front foot, because you want those front feet side by side. And she did shift her weight forward just a little bit, but right now I feel like that front foot is a little too far forward. But at this point, I would not mess with Sarah anymore, because I think she looks good enough, and you don't want to irritate her. You don't want her learning that she's constantly going to be poked and prodded, because then she won't enjoy this. And if you have an animal that doesn't enjoy practice or showing, then that's not going to be fun for the animal or the showman. Okay, so right now, if you can notice that Sarah keeps dropping her head. That is really common. But we have two different reasons here with both of these animals. So Sarah keeps dropping her head because she's not trained yet to keep her head up. Trucker drops his head because his neck muscles aren't strong enough. He's got some big old horns. He's got a big old head, and those neck muscles have got to be conditioned. So how do you condition them? You keep them tied for an hour to 2 hours a day with their head up high. We probably need to do a better job at that. Trucker is showing in youth this spring for 2 more shows, and then he's going to take a break while he grows. So, but that's 2 reasons why they won't keep their head up: lack of neck muscles and lack of training. Do not let this become a bad habit, dropping their head. So, nice. Good job, girls.